Just go, dude. Just go. That's funny.
Bill, what you said you went? Did you go to Paradise Valley High School?
Yeah, Paradise Valley High School in Phoenix.
It's in Phoenix. Okay, I
Yeah.
think I saw a opening there for a phys ed teacher.
Yeah, I feel I feel bad for well, it's really funny. I think I'm pretty sure that like our pictures are still up around there and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they should all be up around there, but I know a lot of the people still that are around the area. Some of the guys that I was friends with in high school, their kids are either trying to wrestle for, that school or some of the local ones and stuff. And it's hard when you come from a driving force of a team, and then all of a sudden the teams are just, not that anymore. It's hard to see that.
Yeah.
So,
Was there a drop off after your dad retired?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I mean, there were a handful of guys that stepped in there. Um, some guys that have been, I mean, you know how the circle is. I mean, it's the same group of people for like decades, and so some of like the guys that were kind of the older guys in like the early days are now the really older guys in like the later days, and it's like, but they're still kind of hanging around. So it's like whenever there's an opening, they kind of will fill in some of those spots. And they did, there were a handful of guys that did that. There was one young kid who um, after my dad died, we had a celebration of life thing for him and everything, and he was this kid was the new wrestling coach, and he was there at the ceremony and stuff, and wanted to tell all of us, my dad's family, and then all these ex wrestlers. It's like decades of wrestlers that were there. He's like, I got it. We're gonna get it back to where it was, and I think he had a lot of good intentions until I don't know, I think he got offered a job at a JC or something like that. I don't know. And then he was out in after a year. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, there it goes. We had our heydays. That's fine. It's good.
Maybe get the Airey Bros out in Arizona. We'll see what we can do.
Do it, man. Do it.
What are
So,
your thoughts?
Go ahead,
Go,
Jim.
Rich. Go. You got it.
Bill, we're live now. We're going belly to belly with Bill Grundler back for round two. Bill,
Round
when
two.
we got cut off last time due to the weather, you were on this amazing
Rant.
gold. I was trying to find the right word because I don't want to say it's a rant because it's like such a positive thing
Yeah.
about the benefits of strength and conditioning, CrossFit specifically, how that correlates to wrestling.
Yeah.
And last week we had RC LaHaye on. He is the head wrestling coach at Lander University down here in South Carolina. They're ranked number two right now
Yeah.
in Division Two. And he is signed up for his fifth open.
Did he
He
really?
he goes to CrossFit Greenwood, which he said is like one of the largest, like square footage wise, CrossFits in the country. And he uses CrossFit with the wrestlers at Lander. He said it was
Smart man.
he said he had to like work with the strength and conditioning coach to kind of maybe not
Get it?
sell him on it, but like get
No,
it.
they got to get it because they don't get it.
But he said that they use that, and last year they finished second in the country. Right now they're ranked number two. So I just thought I'd share that with you that
No,
there
that's
are some
awesome.
wrestling coaches out there at the college level that are using CrossFit.
Yeah, I actually saw whatever cut you guys had on your Instagram with him, and I was just kind of watching. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's cool. Just kind of listening to him. So I didn't know that he did CrossFit. That's awesome. And the hardest thing that I've seen with getting CrossFit into any any sport is that the coaches that do the sports generally are well, coaches just in general are very territorial, and I don't mean locale wise, but like methodology wise. It's like I did this and we got to the championship this way, or this is the way I did it when I came up and we were great, or I've done it this way and this is how it works. And I mean, I get it, man. I mean, the coolest thing about wrestling is for the most part, yeah, you do a lot of lifting, but the movements that you do, moving objects, bodies around, in the not most efficient manners. I mean, just because I mean, you're all stretched out when you're doing singles or you're really elongated. It's not like this. doing deadlifts with a trap bar where you can't mess it up and it's the most perfect setup that you could possibly do. It's you don't have that. So CrossFit is great for that. And it's just shocking to me that more people don't at least try it. I mean, and I'm talking about try it. Not even that they need to integrate it into their program necessarily. I mean, I truly believe that if they try it and they get into it, then they'll recognize, oh shit, we can use it this way. Oh, this is where it is benefits. And I'm not even talking about just benefits as far as strength and conditioning. When do people get hurt? When do wrestlers get hurt?
When they're
Tell me.
tired,
all the time.
Oh, well, I know all the time, but like
Yeah.
when do they get hurt? Like where do they get hurt most of the time?
when they're tired.
Wrestling live in the room
Yeah.
where everyone's sweaty, everyone's sloppy. And then when they wrestle, you get hurt, especially at the college level. It's really the college programs are more of a machine than like the high school programs and stuff like that. So it's like if you aren't the guy that's in the lineup, then you're kind of pushed off to the side until you're back in the lineup again. Um, what I've seen is that when there are guys that can't wrestle, they don't have they're just kind of done or they're running, something like that. That's the perfect opportunity to do CrossFit because now you're doing as a rehab type of thing. You're able to rev the engine, you're able to move the pieces that aren't working or that aren't hurt just as much as you would if you were in a regular wrestling match. So you could do cleans, you could do say you hurt your shoulder. Okay, fine. You can do single arm snatches, cleans, presses, rope pull-ups on one arm, all kinds of thrusters, goblet squats, front squats, back squats, uh, um, burpees off with one hand. When I tore my ACL, I did a whole lot of burpees with one leg. I mean, you can do the stuff, and that's what's great is the idea of infinitely scalable and infinitely modifiable means that you can put it into whatever you want to do. So if you're injured, you can use it. If you're deconditioned, you can use it. If you're a high-end CrossFitter, you can use it. And if you're a wrestler, instead of just going out there, I mean, you obviously got to get your hands on people. You got to get your timing down. You have to be able, you work your setups. You have to be able to do some live wrestling. But if all you're doing is hours of live wrestling and then going out and doing long runs, then I think you're doing a disservice to your strength, your power, your chance of injury, and then actually what's really relevant to you as a wrestler. Um, but the only way, and like just like what you said, he had to sell it to his strength and conditioning. Because strength and conditioning, they may know, they may understand the stuff, but they don't get it. They don't get it until they fully use it. They're all doing the NASM cert type stuff and the National Strength and Conditioning, the NSCA stuff. I mean, that basic stuff. All right, guys, we're going to do a one rep max bench today. Okay, we're going to work on a one rep max back squat. How many calories can you go in, I don't know, 30 seconds on the assault bike? I mean, something. But none of those things, unless you are a true lifter, I mean, we do one max stuff in here for sure, but it's to get percentages so that I can build people's fitness on that. Because an athlete is not going to be a one-shot deal. I mean, even if you're playing football, I mean, yeah, you're going to have to hit one time, but it's 15 seconds of going, and then you got to do that over and over and over. So I don't care what your one rep max is. I want to know what your 80% is that you can do 50 times, something like that. And I just haven't seen and I haven't seen the buy off, and not because people don't want to buy off on it. I just think that like what CrossFit is showing, and that the methodology of that is a direct competition with the other things that are out there. So hats off to him for getting it in there. I'm telling you, man. I mean, did like in the last Summer Olympics, did nobody freak out when they show swimmers and they're doing the training, and swimmers are doing like tire flips and like battle. I mean, not that I think battle rope it's got its place, but generally speaking, swimmers doing battle rope stuff, that's not swimming. Why the hell are they doing that? Why didn't every coach go, why are they doing that movement and it's not swimming? What? I don't get it. Why is that happening? Man, I didn't see anyone do it. It's crazy. It's like especially for wrestling, it is the perfect match. Wrestling, MMA, that's when you get into like the unknown and unknowable stuff. You don't know what's going to come up next. You can't train to know exactly what your run is and what your race is. You get out there and it's like, all right, see what happens. Same thing with fire, same time thing with cops and military, and it's the same sort of deal. It's a fight. You don't know what's going to happen. It's all an unknown
Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the
until they get
face.
punched in the face, right? Totally. The best. That's like one of the best lines ever. I love that
Yeah,
line.
I've used it quite a few times. Speaking of getting punched in the face, Bill, you were teammates with a guy that liked to punch people in the face,
Yeah,
and it
Chuck.
was had a pretty epic run. I actually had the opportunity to meet him a couple times when I was working in the supplement industry.
Yeah.
Um, can you go into that a little bit? What was that like? I mean, was he? I think he had a bit of a karate background up to that point, maybe, or was it
Oh
just
yeah.
wrestling?
No, he so Chuck's background, so Chuck Liddell's who we're talking about. He was on my team when I wrestled the Cal Poly. Great guy. Uh, for whatever reason, he was one of those guys that like we would be cutting weight and we'd be hanging out at the local Taco Bell because that's where all the drunk girls would show up afterwards, and we just wanted to see who we could talk to or whatever. And we're there with like our little cup of ice, that we'd be there for I don't know a couple hours. And there'd every single time there'd be some group of frat guys that would come in and just they would pick him out of the crowd and be like, "What the fuck you looking at?" Like, really? Like, do you have like a magnet face? Do you like everyone just wants to fight you? Nobody knew him then as far as what he was. Um, but he loved to fight. I mean, you came from Santa Barbara. Every single time we went down to Santa Barbara, we'd be running around doing our thing. Cops would come around. We'd be down to Isla Vista, whatever, and the cops come out and they'd have two pictures. They'd be like, "Has anyone seen these two guys?" And one would be Chuck, and the other one would be our heavyweight Seth Woodell. And I'm like, "God, you guys, you're like famous down here for just being bruisers." But Chuck got into martial arts early. Like I think he had kind of a rough childhood a little bit. Karate kind of helped him out. And got into it, did well with it, started doing like at a young age, I want to say like 16 or something like that, was winning like all age national championship type stuff. Had a lot of success with that. Got in with John Hackelman, started working with him at the pit. And then, I mean, John was a badass on his own accord, but Chuck was basically like his flagship for the pit. And I mean, it was really funny so Chuck just liked to fight anyway. I mean, he just liked to fight. It was a wrestling match, but get hit in the face a couple times, and that was kind of his thing. But I remember when the UFC thing first came out, and we were watching. I mean, I remember UFC 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 when, Hoist Gracie is out there and Dan Severn's out there as like the Greco wrestler versus the Muay Thai kickboxer and the sumo wrestler versus the fencer. I don't know, whatever the different little things were that they had on everything. And they didn't have any weight classes. It was just you were your style versus that style over there, whatever it was, and whoever won. And I remember I was walking back with Chuck from school. I don't know if it was from practice or whatever, and we were talking about that stuff. And he's like, "Man, like I don't want to, I don't, I mean, I like to fight, but I don't want to go out there with some 500-pound guy and just have him beat on me because I can't move because he's laying on me. Because there weren't really rules, so there's a lot of that kind of not really knowing what's going on. At least when he was doing his uh Kempo karate stuff, there were there were some rules to what was going on, so he knew how to win. Even a street fight, I mean, he had a wrestling background, so if I went to the ground, it would be fine. But Chuck was a better striker than he was a wrestler anyway. So usually with one of his just heavy fists that he's always had, college fight that doesn't last long. So one punch, boom, and the guy will go down, or one elbow, boom, the guy's out. But yeah, it was interesting, and I was really proud of him. I mean, you listen to him talk, you watch what he was doing, whether it's in his heyday or now or whatever, and you just think that he was just some bruiser guy, just some big dumb jock with no brain that you could hit as many times in the face as you want and he wouldn't feel it. But the dude was smart. He was very smart. He was a statistics guy, major at school. I'm so glad that he did well with his money and was able to, not just have a heyday and blow it all and all that kind of stuff. He's done really well for himself. So It's cool to talk to him every once in a while. We usually kind of text each other like on holidays and stuff like that. And I did get to work with him a little bit um, when he was that last rematch thing that he did with Tito. I mean, I was bummed that it didn't go as long as we wanted it to go, but I was doing some mobility type stuff with him, and so that was kind of cool to kind of get back together with him a little bit and just kind of we kind of relive, or at least me reliving. He was the one that was going in the ring, but kind of reliving some of those athlete days. It was cool.
Nice. Is
Yeah,
he still
Rich.
in San Luis Obispo? Sorry, Jim.
He comes up every once in a while, but I think he's living down in LA now. I mean, again, like he did well with his money, so I think he's got, as far as I can remember, I think he's got a couple houses at different places, so he can kind of cruise around.
Right on.
Yeah,
Yeah, Rich was a Chuck Liddell guy. I was a Randy guy and a
Randy was
Tito
good.
guy, so I
Yeah.
was always on the other end of that for a while. But I will say Chuck was for those, I don't know if it was like 2.5 years. It seemed like an eternity when I was a teenager, but he was untouchable for that
Untouchable.
stretch of time, and he had the ultimate game. And I know going back, everyone says like he would like take a hit to give a hit, but I always like saw him as someone who was elusive and wasn't taking much damage and was hard to put your hands on. And then once he
Totally.
found his range, you were you were on Queer Street.
Totally. I mean, his reach was insane. I mean, really long arms. Um, and and he always like his hooks were just crazy. But what I would always see him do is he was best in a flurry. Like when things got kind of crazy, he would be able to be in deep enough to taking a shot or letting someone kind of get in close to him. And as he's backing out, that's when he's swinging and just coming up over the top. And he would catch it and boom, two, three, four, five times as he's backing out. It was the craziest, like it wasn't like he was backpedaling, but it was almost like that was the setup. Is that like, okay, I know I have my range, but now I'm gonna throw six punches, and because I'm backing out from close to far away, I got at least eight shots I'm gonna get on you. Something's gonna hit. And it was almost like this weird, like kind of shotgunning type of thing. Um, those three guys, like the rivalries with those three guys, I just, I mean, there's some good rivalries now, but like those early day ones like that, they were, I mean, the camps were just split, like on everybody, like, and I'm talking the crowd camp. It wasn't just like, oh, I want to see a good fight. It was like the camps were split. And the Randy Couture one was a trip because he wrestled when we wrestled. And so he wrestled for Oklahoma State. And but he was older than everyone because he was in the military. So we remember like we'd be out there at these tournaments and watching him wrestle. I'm like, who is that fucking old guy? He was like 4 years older than us or whatever because he was doing his military time. Um, but I think that like uh the rivalry won, but the respect that those guys, especially Randy and Chuck, that those guys gave each other. I mean, they respected each other's wrestling background. They both just loved to get in and fight. It wasn't like a, it wasn't personal. Like the Tito thing got a little personal. I think those guys had their beef, but but like Chuck and Randy, it was just two warriors, and both of them had um this code of honor that I just really love when it comes to sports. Um, like okay, man, someone's gonna win, someone's gonna lose, and everyone has been on both sides of that. And so, like, so it's like you get out there and you go and you beat the shit on each other, and then you help the guy up when you're done. I mean, unless he said something bad about your mom or something, then you could hit him again on the way back up. But other than that, I really like that. I really like that. I think Tito's thing was a little, not that he didn't have that same um, uh,
He was
battle
more pro
kind of.
wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, it was about the show. Dude, I remember we went to one of Chuck's fights. I can't remember which one it was. We were in Vegas and we're all at I think we were at I think we're at the Hard Rock and we're all out at the pool. It was after the fight the next day and so we're there with Chuck and his whole camp all the guys, all the girls, like just doing our thing. And then from like across the pool, bump on. I mean, you should have had like theme. Boom, 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 Tito. His camera gets right up close to his face, and he's got his entourage, and they're like, everyone's a mad dog, and everybody. I'm like, we're gonna have a showdown here at the Hard Rock Pool, and everyone in like their, bikinis and board shorts. Like, what's happening? But it was really funny. But that was the show. I mean, that was, and I know that there was a lot of like truth to a lot of their, getting pissed off. I know Chuckle, he can kind of play the game to a point. Then he's like, just fucking let's go, let's fight. But it was fun. That time was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the impressive thing too was if you watch that first fight between Chuck and Randy, there's in my eyes like, oh, there's no way he's gonna come back and beat him twice, knock him out twice, and he did. And I guess like the rumor was he was partying pretty hard that first fight because he thought Randy was a washed up heavyweight, and I guess the next two he came correct.
Well, I mean, it would be anyone, and it's funny because I mean, yeah, Chuck was partying hard, without a doubt, totally. But he was the guy that was all of a sudden having a shit ton of money. I mean, he was the rock star. And I mean, it didn't matter where he went, he was stopped. I mean, it's like Conor McGregor, but like the first version of that. We're just, you are the guy, and everybody wants to be with you and be around you and talk to you and hang out with you and stand next to you. And I mean, yeah, he was living it up for a while, without a doubt. That would be a hard way for sure, to compete. And I think that, um, there is, I think a lot of people probably saw that also and was like, oh, okay. So yeah, you still have to be an athlete. You still have to, keep your shit clean and, have good nutrition and, still train really hard and be able to train really hard and that kind of thing. So, but I don't know, man. If you threw a ton of money like that too, who wouldn't want to go out and have a good time for at least a handful of times? You know,
Yeah.
Or you just where you own Vegas? Like, come on, that's pretty badass.
Yeah, I
What?
can't blame him now in my older age, And I want to go back to one of your first points if you didn't have anything, Rich, because I know I just cut you off.
I was just gonna tell a Chuck story, but
Uh,
that's all
yeah.
right.
I want to go back to one of your first points when we were talking about the wrestling, and you kind of brought up the CrossFit stigma with strength and conditioning coaches, and how me and Rich came to that CrossFit game. It felt like wrestling practice to us. I don't know, a year out of college wrestling, and I was kind of living that scumbag life, and then once I found CrossFit, it was like I can be an athlete again. And then it was like taking all that energy from wrestling and put it into CrossFit and training 2 to 3 times a day for God knows what. But it was still like scratching that itch. And then, at that point, that was like around 2009, 2010. And then I would say like 2011, 2012 is when CrossFit started blowing up. And then, you started seeing on ESPN, and then it kind of got that stigma was like, if you do that, you're gonna get hurt. Like you're gonna go do kip and pull-ups and blow your shoulder out. And I know you kind of came to the CrossFit game because you were a firefighter and you guys were doing that stuff for training. I'm interested to see if it had that wrestling practice kind of feeling for you. And at what point did you kind of see that stigma come in? And what do you think the reason for that was?
Well, to the wrestling part, 100%. I mean, without a doubt. I remember when it was probably 2006, I think 2006, 2007, somewhere in there. I was getting my level 2 certification, and the instructors were, Andy Stumpf, Adrian Bosman, and Chris Spieler. Well, Chris was a wrestler. Um, and so I was talking to him about it. I'm like, hey, so I asked the same question. Does it feel like wrestling practice to you too? And he's like, totally. He's like, that was like you literally went from one thing to the other, and you feel the same way. They're the same breaks, like you're in a flurry or you get on top, and there's like a moment of like, or you go out of bounds, you're coming back. That's like where you're chalking your hands up and you get right back into it, and the clock is running. So there's always that like you're on the go and you're going for it. Um, where it's really, really loud, then all of a sudden the second you're in it, bam, you're like right in your space and in your head, and very right in that physicality, that little element. And that's the same thing that a wrestling match was like. I loved it. I mean, like I didn't just like it. I loved it because it was something that brought me straight back. And I think that's why, especially when we talk about like CrossFit and wrestling, why I have such a hard time with people not wanting to at least see it. I'm like, I feel like I have this magic like right here in my hand. Dude, I have the elixir right here in my hand. All you got to do is try it. Like, I don't want to look at it. What's this? It's going to be awesome. Like, it'll be the best thing you guys. No, I don't want to. Come on, man. Like, just do it. So, yeah, 100%. It was that. Here I am now, 54 years old. I'm not competing for anything. I mean, like I always do the open. It's my 14th open, by the way. I've done every open that there has been. Um, so I'm not training to compete for anything necessarily, but every single time I work out, every single time. I'm always thinking like, oh, come on, someone's out there doing something. Come on, I'm gonna get this one. I gotta beat that guy. I'm gonna do, it's that's you're a wrestler. Like once you're a wrestler, you're a wrestler, and it'll come out in those wrestler-esque type of activities for sure. So 100% on that. As far as the stigma thing goes, uh, I believe that the initial stigma was a freak out by everyone that wasn't CrossFit, other methodologies, other gyms, other whatever, because it was direct competition, and it was, I think it was the fastest, if it isn't still, the fastest growing fitness. And I don't want to say fad because it's not a fad, but fitness phenomena, fitness methodology of all time. And if you are in the fitness space and you're a CrossFit gym, or you're a gym owner, or you're a personal trainer, and all of a sudden everyone's doing all of these things, you have to say something bad about it. Well, they don't care about form. They just want you to go fast. No, we want you to go fast and we want you to have good form. Like the thing that like Glassman always said was, okay, the question is perfect form or speed so that you have high intensity. The answer to that is yes. Meaning you got to have both, which means that both of those are going to come down. Your form, because you're going at max intensity for that particular movement, whether that's blazing fast air squats for 3 minutes, or it's some long drawn out version of it where it's going to be a little bit slower and more paced out. But your intensity level of that is going to knock off the edges of perfection, but you still have to have good, solid movement so that you can be efficient in that movement. That's what you have to do. So you have to have good movement. That's awesome. I mean, if you have good movement, you're going to be doing great. Nobody that is doing their one rep max or their max intensity is going to have perfect form. It's just not perfect because you're going at max intensity. Uh, Trying to keep good form, a level of good form, is going to bring your tempo down. I mean, you see people doing like half push-ups. Yeah, they're going really fast, but they haven't done a rep, and they're not getting the benefits out of that movement. So that movement is not perfect. So it's like, okay, you're going to go a little bit slower than, breakneck speed, but you're still going to be going really fast, and it'll catch up to you at minute 3 and 4, and you'll be sucking wind, and you'll understand what we're talking about. So I think that's what it was more of a competition comment. Like I'm trying to call them out. They aren't good because of this. And the easiest thing to call is that CrossFit is unsafe. It's the easiest thing to call. Just because it doesn't have to be. There are ways to say and make that statement 100% true, because do people get hurt doing CrossFit? Totally. Do people get hurt running? Absolutely. But do you ever hear about that? No, because no one ever talks about that. They always talk about like, oh, you want to get in shape? You haven't done anything? You should start running. Okay. Well, 80% of runners are injured, and no one talks about that. So, it's an emotional blurt, and then it becomes a parroted comment from people around explaining, just kind of trying to blow it off somehow, trying to not want to do it. And even if they're not a direct competitor with CrossFit, and they're in the gym doing back and buys and or chest and tries and back and buys and legs and abs and calf raises and whatever. Um, what I always said, because I was one of those guys. I mean, shit, we all were before CrossFit. That's what we did, you know. So what I think they're missing is they don't want to do something that they already like. Okay, that's fine. Don't talk shit on it because you like this other thing. That doesn't mean that this is good and that's bad because you like this and you haven't tried that. Um, I think that a lot of people are missing the boat with that. Uh, as a trainer myself, like I talk, I'm a workout snob, man. I just am. I'm not afraid to admit it. I don't think I'm a jerk about it, but I definitely am that. But the backing that I have is that okay, I've tried the other things that are out there. I don't know too many CrossFit coaches that have done Orange Theory and actually tried it out to actually see what it. Have you? Okay, good.
Yeah.
I mean, because you got if I'm going to talk shit on it and say that my stuff is better, I got to be able to tell you why it's better, and that's important. And I think that a lot of people when they just say CrossFit's dangerous, CrossFit will get you hurt. Have you done it? No, I haven't. Have you even looked into it? No, I haven't. Well, then you don't know what you're talking about. You have, well, yeah, but my doctor said, my chiropractor said that, his practice is just chock full of CrossFitters, and that's what's keeping him in business. And I'm like, I highly doubt that. Are there some? Yeah, because we are loud and vocal about the workouts that we do, for sure. Oh God, look at my hands. I tore my hands. Oh, guess what I did this many squats today. And oh, what was your, run time or your friend time or your hang squat clean, blah, blah. I mean, we're nerds about that stuff. So we tell everyone that's the joke about CrossFitters is like, how do you know a CrossFitter? Because they're the ones that won't stop talking about CrossFit. So I think that all of the other people that get hurt don't say all that stuff because you can't tell me that all the chiropractors that are out there are only dealing with CrossFitters because then there'd be way more CrossFitters out there than we think there are. So, I that's what I think it is. I don't believe that hype at all. In fact, I love the conversation when anyone asks me about it. If we have a new person come in, like, my mom was saying that CrossFit's dangerous. Okay, well, what did they tell you? Here, and then they give me whatever the things are. I'm like, all right, well, let's talk about it. I love that talk. It's the best because it's my chance to educate someone on doing it. Um, and they really can't argue with it until they try it. Same thing with like the wrestling coaches. Can't tell me it's not going to work, guys. You haven't even come in and tried it. Just come in. Let me put you on some power cleans for a while. You'll dig it.
Yeah, yeah, we talked to Scott Douglas last week too. He was a editor for Runner's World magazine, and I worked with BMAC for a bit over at CrossFit Endurance, and that was
Yeah,
one
he
of
was
the
great.
things
He's
we
great.
talked about was the amount of runners that get injured, and he actually said that there are at this point in 2024 all of the elite athletes, all the elite high level runners are doing some sort of strength training at this point. He's like, the days of just being a runner are no longer a thing. You can't thrive at the highest of levels unless you have some sort of strength and conditioning program
Totally. Well,
that you're doing.
yeah, and I mean even like those guys. And so when BMAC was bringing that stuff out, that's when they were doing the CrossFit endurance stuff. And the idea was, okay, you're gonna do the old school just running only, and you're gonna beat the shit out of your legs. Yeah, you'll have your numbers, and you'll your body will pare itself down, so you're not carrying as much musculature to do whatever run you're trying to do. But how about we do this? We throw some CrossFit in there where you can do some interval type work. You're building up the strength to support your body. Not trying to, not doing like super hypertrophy type stuff where you're trying to build all this muscle mass because, again, as a marathoner, you don't want to have a ton of muscle mass, but you want to be able to have muscle tone that is going to support your body so that you have power and explosivity to do the different things you want. I mean, most marathons are not just flat, where you're just on a treadmill. You're going to have to go uphill, you're going to have to go downhill. And I've done one marathon and I trained the old school way of doing it. And I went from not I wasn't even doing CrossFit yet. I was working fire and lifeguarding here at Pismo and doing beach sprints and hill, stair sprints and lifting hard like I normally do type of thing. And I got on a treadmill test and I ran the test out to where it wouldn't go up any higher and it wouldn't go any faster. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I just like, oh, all right. So then I trained for a marathon, however many years later, 5 years later, whatever. And the classic way of training, I'm thinking, oh man, I'm gonna crush this test. I didn't crush it. I did decent. But I'm like, I'm running, getting tired and I hop off and they're like, okay, that's not too bad. And I go, well, was there more to go? And they're like, oh yeah, we had a couple more steps for sure to go. Like, oh, damn it. I didn't have the power. I didn't have the explosiveness. I didn't have as it's going uphill, I didn't have that juice anymore. And that's what these explosive, um, uh, training methodologies will give you. And muscle tone is protection. I don't want my head getting snapped back or my back to go crazy or my arm or my leg or my hip or whatever. I need that musculature to keep me functionally tight. I don't want to talk about like the old school bench guy whose shoulders are super rounded forward and he can't move and can't touch anything because he's so damn jacked. But I need to be able to move. Um, and I need to be able to have my body hold itself together, not wear itself down to nothing. So that's cool. You did work with him though. That's awesome.
Yeah, I had a marathon PR after I started doing CrossFit and CrossFit endurance, and I reached out to him, bridged the gap, and I had a friend that lived in San Diego that was chomping at the bit to get me to come out and live with him, and so I went out for a couple of years and
Super cool.
worked with him and got to teach some seminars, and it was a coming from New Jersey going to California. It was kind of like going from, like being a state champ in Rhode Island and then going to like Oklahoma or California. It's like, oh,
You're like, oh,
because I think yeah, at the time Jimmy and I had like delusions of grandeur that, if Chris Spieler can do it, we're little guys, we can do it too. And then you get out there and you're like, oh, there's no way. It just gets to a certain weight and then I'm out of the equation. There's certain things that are definitely in my wheelhouse where I can be on the leaderboard, but once it gets to a certain weight on the RX, I'm out of it.
yeah. It happens with the best of us, man.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, I think it got to a point with us because we reached out to a couple of those wrestlers. You mentioned Spieler before. I had reached out to a bunch of those guys and just kind of seeing what they were doing, and they all told me like, "Hey, there might be a point where you just need to go back and get strong and stop doing the CrossFit." But I was so into the CrossFit, there was no way I was giving up Metcons and going hard. So that's kind of where we came to. But
Oh, see, I already, I'm sorry, dude. I got a problem with that statement already. I do. Could you need to go back and get strong? Then you were, your programming was not strong enough to push you then. Like,
well,
like, so I get into it with a lot of seminar staff guys like me and Chase. We go back and forth on this all the time. Actually, we don't go back and forth. He holds strong to his point, and I hold strong to my point. Where CrossFit will talk about doing that Metcon or just doing strength that day, whatever the thing is, and they're the point of doing just like a 5x5 back squat that day. Um, they talk about if that's all you're going to do, there's a lot of build up to it, a lot of learning, a lot of warm up sets, whatever. Whereas when I'm programming, we'll do strength stuff and a conditioning part on top of that. So we do two. Uh, that's just how I design our stuff. But I run strength cycles the whole time. So we're doing deadlift, strength cycles, back squat, front squat, overhead squat, pressing, cleans, snatches, thrusters, pull ups. Even bench stuff, we'll do that because I think it's still fun to throw a bench around every once in a while. But then in the programming, like just because you're doing Metcon doesn't mean that it has to be light. And I think that's what a lot of people will program is a weight that like the soccer moms are going to do. So they'll pull out the pink kettlebells and they'll do, the wall balls and the kettlebell swings and the push-ups and the run. They'll do a whole lot of running and it ends up being a very lightweight type of thing. Whereas, I mean, I'm putting in, yeah, okay, you're going to do, clean and jerks at 225 or 155. That's the prescribed version or 70% of your one rep max. So we do a lot of our strength stuff so that we can get that percentage base because I want you to lift light, lift moderately, and lift heavy in the workout, not just in the strength piece, but in the workout. And I, dude, I'm telling you what, I've had a lot of people that have come through, regular gym guys that have come through and they hit all kinds of strength gains with us because of the way that we program it. And I mean, the old school Greg Glassman thing in the What is Fitness, one of the things in there that really sparked my interest was that with the intensity of the workouts, you get a neuroendocrine response to it that's similar to taking like testosterone or some sort of anabolic. So you have your testosterone anabolic guys. You have the people that work at this level, and we're talking weighted stuff, not just body weight boot camp stuff. Heavy weight, high intensity, whatever. They're right below that. And then below that, you'll have the guys that are just doing weightlifting, just doing strength stuff. I mean, strength is great, but if it's not functional strength, like what's the point of it? So I honestly like I wish at some point we would have hit up earlier because I would have said, try these workouts because it would have been different.
Well, you got me sold. You need a video editor out there in Pismo.
Come
But
on out, man. Come
the
on out.
so kind of to your point, so when Rich first moved out to California, he was at CrossFit Counterculture with the Life is Prescribed guys,
Yeah,
and a couple of those guys were smaller, but they had like crazy numbers on their boards.
right.
And I remember talking to some of them, and the one guy told me he was like, he was kind of in your wheelhouse of things. He said, no matter how heavy the RX is and how long it takes you, do that weight. And if it takes you to time cut or whatever, he's like, just get used to
Well,
not
I'm
being
not
on the
that bad,
leaderboard.
dude. I'm not that
Well,
bad.
I obviously it was still like kind of the dark days, but
Yeah,
for a while I had done that and brought my numbers up. I think a lot of it too just went to training different energy systems and stuff
right,
like that, and
right,
like not knowing, and just kind
right.
of throwing stuff up at the wall. Later, a couple years later, I had a relatively good CrossFit coach that brought my numbers up, and I was able to do some of those things. So
Yeah.
I do see your point to things. So we've mentioned a couple times you're a firefighter, and you've had some epic stories on Savant's podcast, and I don't want you to retell them. People can go back and listen to them. Just that the one story you told with the lady who had like the sunscreen on,
Oh
and
God, yeah,
and they didn't eat that part of her body because she had sunscreen on it.
yeah.
I was like, that kind of traumatized me a little bit. That was like I
You're
couldn't.
like, I'm not going to California now.
Oh, I'm not gonna be a firefighter. But you brought a point up is like all the worst shit that you're ever gonna see in your life, like that was part of your job.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious how the back end of that is, and how you kind of deal with that and walk around. You're a relatively nice guy. You seem like the type of person that
Relative.
well, my point being is you seem like the kind of person that never meets a stranger. Like when we first did our first interview, you came on and you were talking to us like that, like you knew us. And I feel like a lot of I know you wearing a red shirt, but I know a lot of the seminar staff. We had Pat Barber on, we've had Boz on, and it's the same kind of thing. And I don't know if it's owning a CrossFit gym and dealing with people all the time that you're always like that, but I'm kind of curious how you've dealt with the back end of those things. Were you just kind of how you were raised?
uh, it's funny. I think that um I mean trauma is a bitch. It is a nasty thing and it affects people so differently that you can't always place where it affects them. Like some people, it's very obvious. Like they don't eat, they can't sleep, they have nightmares. I mean, like the archetypical classic um, sort of symptoms. Um, Other people will hold stuff inside, and when they're holding stuff inside, it kind of bubbles up, and it starts to kind of seep out in different places. With me, what I've found, and honestly, it's really weird. I not that I thought I was impervious to it, but I would get very um disconnected from the situation at the time. So when I would be on a particular call, it would be I would be doing actions, not sitting there thinking, this kid's mom, this person's husband, this person's child, this person's whatever. I mean, because the second that would happen, you can't do your job. I mean, all of a sudden now you're not able to do whatever. I started my fire career in lifeguarding, and with lifeguarding, when you actually go in or making a rescue, you can be going on someone that's dead or basically is not breathing, not no pulse at the time, maybe how long, depending. But you don't get to sit there and think about it. You got to get them out of the surf. You got to get them moving, to a certain place, and then you kind of get right into what's going on. So you go from 0 to 100, heart rate's racing, mind is thinking, okay, how do I keep myself safe while I'm trying to get this person in and assess what's going on to even know what's going on? And you can't, you don't have time for emotion in that. I've been on rescues with some young lifeguards, right out of high school, and we're pulling a guy out of the water. And I mean, he did a great job as far as like, getting to him and getting out and whatever. But it was hard to find this one guy. We got him in, we did our thing, we worked him up, got on the ambulance, boom, the ambulance took off. And the second that was over, this kid just instantly started sobbing because it's like, did I do something wrong? Did the guy die because of me? That was they're all valid concerns from a new rescue person. I think with me, um, I was a little bit older getting into the service. So I think I was like 27 when I first got into like the fire end of it. Um, and I realized that if I could compartmentalize things, that it would be that I would be safe out of that. And I'd never really had anything bubble up per se, but what I have found is that action. So I've been divorced. I have my oldest daughter which is from my ex-wife. Um, she's 22 years old. Her birthday is May 24th. I had a new girlfriend. We had a shitty relationship. Long though, long drawn out, whatever. And so because of that relationship, my oldest daughter didn't want to have anything to do with me anymore. My girlfriend at the time had my next daughter down. She's 8. Same fucking birthday. I don't know what I only have sex on one day, apparently. I don't know what's going on with that. Um, but like horrendous relationship, still dealing with all kinds of crap. And what I found was I put walls like that learning to compartmentalize everything. Dude, I put walls up on everything. So I could be in the gym, and that was like my safe place because I pushed everything out. I'd be in the middle of a divorce thing. I'd be in the middle of a kid thing. I'd be in the middle of a, psychotic girlfriend thing. I'd be in the middle of trying to see my daughter and not being able to see her because the psycho mama's, you're not going to see, you're not going to do, and blah, blah, whatever. But I have to come to the class and be like, hey guys, what's happening? And everything's cool. And it was just compartmentalizing. And it really honestly wasn't till I had my current girlfriend. Um, we had a great relationship. She ended up breaking up with me because like I just can't, I feel like you're not all in. I thought I was all in, but what I realized was I had these walls up and they were just stopping everything that I was wanting to do. And so We are now back together, and it took her to help me knock those walls down. And then we're talking 30 years of dealing with shit, however you can figure out how to deal with it. And that's how it went with me. Like I would have literally pushed everything and everyone out just far enough so that I don't have to deal with the pain. That's what I found out. That's how it manifested in me, which was really weird. So, I mean, like I could see faces ripped off. I could see the ugliest of things. I could see I mean, I have kids, so it's like if I, most firefighters and people when they it comes to like something bad happening to the kids, like they lose it on that. I didn't lose it on anything because I boxed the shit out of it with in a steel compartment with a padlock on it, and that just kind of moved it off to the side. And what I found out is that all that did was build up a shit ton of walls around me. And my buddy, when I was broken up with my girlfriend Laura, my buddy who was my engineer, he's like, "Look, man, you handle things better than anybody I know. Anybody in any situation." He's like, "But the problem is that you are always ready to see what might go wrong, that you never put yourself out there. So what ends up happening is you never get all the joys of everything that are out there." And I'm like, holy shit, he's totally right. And that sucked. That was really hard for me to take because I'm like, I thought I was just being a dude and being strong and being this, I'm a wrestler and I'm a fire captain and I'm a workout guy and I'm a, I'm a strong dad and I'm a all these things. And all I did was I boxed myself in the corner. And I mean, honestly, I think when all that literally went down was probably we got back together like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And it's been great ever since. And I'm total different outlook on life on things. I mean, I don't react the same way that I think most people do in certain situations. It drives my girlfriend crazy because she's like, how, I don't know how you can handle like this psychoness thing that's happening. And you're just like, all cool, calm, and collected about it. I'm like, well, all that stoicism stuff that, there's all that. People in the first responder realm have a very they laugh about the dark humor that like cops and firefighters and nurses and doctors have. That is how they deal with it. They laugh at things that most people would be appalled that you're laughing at. You know, those are all different ways that people protect themselves. But that one was mine. And dude, I really honestly didn't even, I couldn't have told you what it was 8 years ago. I'd have been like, yeah, no, it really didn't bother me all that much until it affected me in my personal realm, you know. But it was if something was painful, I would box it up and then I could just put it right there. So it wasn't going to come any closer. I knew it was there, but I didn't have to deal with it really. It was just kind of just off to the side. I don't suggest doing that for anybody. It can be a lonely life if you do it that way, and that's not good. So I don't know. I don't know. How's that for an answer? You weren't expecting that one, huh?
That was deep. We're getting deep with Bill
Dude,
Grundler.
I didn't even realize it was gonna be that deep till it was coming out. I'm like, holy shit. And so then when I was 12, there was this one
I
time.
do have feelings.
Well, we do appreciate you sharing that with us, Bill. We do like to go deep here. So we always pride ourselves in getting a different style or kind of interview out of people. So I think we,
That's
we just
good.
hit that mark there. Shifting gears a little bit, I see you do some archery. You got a recurve bow.
Yeah.
Is that just an aspect, an element that you've added to the training, or do you hunt?
Um, well, I would like to be able to go hunt. I think with a bow, especially with the recurve, like the last thing I want to do is go out and pin some animal like up in the neck somewhere where it's not going to kill them. It's just going to like maim them and they have to go off and be all like that. I don't want to be like that. Um, I have always wanted to do uh bow hunting. Talked about it a bunch. You have a bunch of members here at the gym that go hunting all the time and they do, they got their recurves. They got all their badass bows. It's pretty sick. Some of the things that are out there, they look like goddamn robots with the string, you know. Um, but I really wanted to learn how to do it. A college roommate of mine, said that he was doing it, and he's like, dude, you got to get one. It's super fun. I'm like, all right, fine. So he kind of pushed me over the edge, and I have had so much fun with that goddamn bow. Like I think I'm okay. I'm not great by any means or anything like that, but I'm getting a lot better, getting a lot more confident, which is really cool. I mean, I think if I was to go hunting now, if I have something within 20 yards, then I think I can make a good shot on it, which would be really cool. Um, but using it as far as a like a training tool, like a adding it as one of the movements in a workout that I'm doing. Like a lot of the fitness uh workouts for archery are rucking and then a shot and something like that. But I'm doing like clean and jerks and thrusters and pull-ups and toes to bar and kettlebell swings and then taking some shots in there to see. And for me, I want to see like what I can do. So I kind of play my own game. If it's in the bullseye, it's like 3 inch, and then there's a 5 inch kind of square, and then a 7 inch, and then there's the bag, and then I have some behind it just in case I take a wild shot and it goes off, somewhere. Um, and so depending how accurate the shot is, I'll either add reps or subtract time, or I'll do it the other way, depending how inaccurate the shot is, just to kind of make it to where um I don't know, it makes it more of a game. And it was really fun. I saw Dave Castro 3 weeks ago. I was taking this class up in Gilroy, and he showed up at it, and we were talking about it and everything. And I asked him, like, all right, dude, so you're doing all your shooting, all your rifle stuff, all your pistol stuff, everything, the tactical games and all that. I don't think that it should be an event that would get you to the games. I go, but where do you think that accuracy really stands? Like, what is accuracy in CrossFit? And he's like, well, it's where we hit the wall ball target, or it's like where the bar hits on your leg when you're doing like a snatch, and can you get it up overhead? And I go, yeah, but what if you're talking about being able to move the bar into a certain position, if we're using CrossFit terminology and definitions, if it's me being able to accurately, if it's me being able to put the bar into a right place, wouldn't that be coordination and like agility rather than accuracy? And he's like, yeah, I know, but in our sphere, that's what we're talking about. And I go, and then I started pushing him a little bit. And I'm like, okay, so in the level one seminar, they talk about intensity and perfection of movement. And this is, going back to the discussion that we just had. And this is part of the lecture. They'll draw three targets up on the board. And they'll say, okay, sharpshooter one comes up, and he's like, bam, 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 and they're all boom, like the grouping is tight, right in the center. Perfect shooting. But it took him like 3 minutes to do it. Then you have the other guy over here who he goes right away, and he's like, bam, 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 three shots right off. And there's like one's sort of in, one's off to the side, and one's way over here somewhere. It's like, okay, much faster, but his accuracy was for shit. What we want is like you're gonna go bam, bam, bam. So it splits the difference. And then now you have a general area. So it's in the target. It's not all crazy, but it's not picture perfect. And I was like, okay, if we use that story in the level one, then wouldn't the element of some sort of accuracy in what we're doing come up? Like, I mean, I was never a good basketball player because, I'm a wrestler. So, but like basketball, like why not put basketball shots in there? Or I train I train a bunch of like little baseball kids. They're funny because like they throw just the tennis balls around a bunch beforehand, and like they will have some wild ass throws. And I'm like, aren't you guys baseball players? Like, what the hell? I thought you guys were supposed to be good at like accuracy of where you're throwing your ball. Even doing something like that, I thought would be kind of fun. And I started even playing with the idea of like, okay, I won't use my bow. I'll start going to some different ball shots like I'll try to kick the soccer ball over here at a certain time and do it in the middle of the workout, accuracy that way, just to kind of play with it, more just kind of an experiment. um but yeah, I do want to be able to hunt. I mean, I like the self-sufficientness of that, being able to get your own meat, and where the meat's not tainted, and it's not hormones, and it's not some sort of weird cage fed something or other. I love the idea of that. But again, like with that recurve, the aiming on that is way different than like on a compound bow, where you have all the sights and everything. So I want before I go out, I want to make sure that I have a decent shot, and I think I'm getting close to that. I've had a handful of people that are like, "You let me know when you want to go, and we'll go." So I'm definitely getting a little excited about it. So it'll be fun.
Right on. Well, we look forward to seeing some
Some
photos
meat.
with some deer or an elk or something, and some
I'll
meat, some
stick with
good
that meat.
steaks.
Yeah, seriously, man, it's so fun. Have you guys ever shot?
Not
Uh,
bows. I
Not
never
well. I
shot a
mean, in
bow.
gym class we did bow, but we grew up hunting with bird hunting with shotguns.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's just it's crazy, and I laughed at myself because I got so excited about doing it. Like I got my bow, and then I had six arrows, and I'd be shooting, and I couldn't do the workout the way that I wanted to do it with enough arrows. So it's like like 2 weeks later, I'm down. I'm buying another six arrows. I'm like, okay, so I now have 12. Okay, that's pretty cool. Okay, but this one is, I need to do more than just two shots. Okay, boom, I go down to buy another six arrows again. So I have like a quiver of like 24 arrows. I got, I have my 3D targets that I've made out of old foam. I have my target that I use, and it's cool. I mean, most of the time I work out by myself at the gym anyway, so I coach a lot of the classes, and then when they're all gone, if I can get a workout in, I'll pull the stuff out and I'll grab my bow and grab my quiver and put it up there and start shooting and lifting weights. It's super fun.
It's awesome. It's like
Yeah.
a CrossFit biathlon.
Right? And it's crazy because there was a when Rogue did the first Rogue Invitational, they did a ski biathlon, and it was with an air rifle and then the ski erg. And the event itself was super cool, but there were a lot of people, and I was probably one of those people that were talking about it too, that was like, okay, but this is a weird event to be used as a qualifier for the games. And that was the year that competition was actually a qualifier to the games. And I didn't think that that was an appropriate place to have it, even though I thought the event was super cool. And so then it's funny that I was one of the people that kind of was talking about not the negative sides of it, but like the it didn't really fit side of it. And then here I am almost every like I have to pull myself into doing a regular workout because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go get my bow. Can you just do a regular workout? Yeah, but I want to shoot because it's super fun. And then I do it and I just crack myself up and I'm laughing the whole time as I'm doing it. So it's a good time.
You have a compound bow in your future, or are you going to stick with the recurve?
Um, I don't know. I like the I have found in my old age that I'm pretty much a purist of whatever it is that I'm doing. So whether, but that's why I really like the honor and the pride part of like the fighting with like Chuck and Randy. It's like it was a pure warrior sort of code, not all of this other jumbled up stuff. And I feel that I think at least right now, I really like the recurve just because I mean, it's pretty soulful, you know what I mean? It's like it's not like aim get the pin and put it over the target, and it's like you kind of stick it out there and feel that it's in the right place. I mean, there's some aiming obviously, but like it's way more intuitive. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I like this one at least for right now.
Cool.
So
So, Bill, we really appreciate your time. You've given us two episodes here, and we have the final four that we ask our guests at the end of every podcast. However, I have one more question for you.
I
sure,
have one more too.
All right.
sure.
So, I got to choose my words here, right? Because Rich is gonna call me out, and I didn't mean relatively nice guy. You are a nice guy.
It's totally
That
fine.
that said, you come across as a CrossFit purist, someone who kind of holds true to those original Glassman articles that were in the journal that later became the level one manual. And we know there's a lot of stuff going on in CrossFit, them trying to figure out where they're going in the next couple steps, what they're going to do with the affiliates, how they're going to grow it, how they're going to kind of get it back to where it was. What are your thoughts on the current state of CrossFit? Are you ride or die? You're gonna be like the guys on the Titanic playing their instruments as the boat's going down. Are you gonna be with CrossFit to the bitter end and flying that flag? What do you think of the new staff and what they're doing?
Uh, I think that CrossFit is in a very difficult position. Um, when it was run by Greg, it was run by Greg. He was the guy. He said, "We all jump and we all jump." There wasn't anyone that he had to answer to. Now with Don Fall on, at the helm, he's got his board that he has to deal with. He's got the the venture capitalists that they got to deal with, the private venture people. Um, and I don't think that they necessarily have a stake in the methodology of CrossFit. They see CrossFit as an investment. Um, so I think that CrossFit is trying to figure out how they can move between those two things. And it's granted, there's a lot of flux and there is a lot of from standing on this and a lot of fucking dumb things that they have done. A lot. Um, but at least right now, until I can see something that is better methodology wise for uh coaching my people and following a fitness program that I believe in. And like I'm a great coach. Um, I never said that I was a spectacular businessman. I wish that I was better at it. Um, and I am not a good salesman because if I don't wholeheartedly believe in it, then I feel like I'm a used car salesman and I'm not good at that. But with CrossFit, I believe in what it is. I believe in what the methodology is and all of the things you talked about, all the old school, the definitions and the lift large loads long distances quickly and all of the other ones, all of those OG things, they are what built what CrossFit is. So as of right now, yeah, I'm ride or die. I believe in what CrossFit is. I don't necessarily agree with all of the things that HQ is doing. Um, but again, like there's probably members here in the gym that don't agree with all the things that I do either, but they believe in what we do and what we are able to offer them. And that's where I need to hold my ground on that part. Um, even when everyone was trying to cancel Greg out, um, you know, with whatever element that they wanted to go at it and CrossFit's bad and everything. What I told people was that this was our CrossFit. This was our version, our rendition, our interpretation of what Glassman set up. And I have yet to see anything that works the same way that CrossFit does. And I'm talking the 100 words of CrossFit. It has your nutrition, it has your workout program, it tells you what to do, it tells you how to do it. It's literally that simple. And there isn't anything else out there that is better than what the CrossFit methodology is for fitness or for wrestlers or for firefighters or for people that haven't moved yet and need to change their trajectory of their health because of diabetes or medications that they're on or body fat issues or whatever. There isn't anything that is out there that is better than what CrossFit is. So until that happens, um, I'm all in. I've said on our show a bunch of times that I have tripped over all the stupid shit and dropped the CrossFit flag in the dirt so many dang times. Um, but I can't not pick it back up again because I believe in what that is. Again, like I liken it a little bit to my last year, 2 years when I was working fire. I didn't get out of fire because I didn't like fire. I loved the fire department. I loved working and everything, but I had to make a decision between fire and running the gym because I didn't want the gym to shut down if I wasn't there. And I was a captain, so I'm mid-management. So I control the engine. I'm in charge of my shift and at the station and everything. But you're also right at the footsteps of all the political bullshit that's going on. And what I realized that I really liked and what I found out was the more the bullshit was going on, the more I just started turning around to my crews, training my guys and girls, whoever we had that were on the engine with us, making them good firefighters, safe firefighters, getting us ready to do the fun things that we were going to have to do and the courageous things that we were going to have to do. So when it gets weird outwardly, I turn very inwardly with using the methodology as the compass, and it's still the best thing out there. So yeah, flag's still up. Flag is still up.
Man,
Respect.
yeah, respect.
Yeah, and
No, okay,
I was just
sorry.
gonna say you got some fans in our chat saying you're babe. So shout out to Laura in the chat.
That's
The
funny. I
last
can't
one,
I can't see the chat. Is that on YouTube?
It's on
yeah.
YouTube. Yeah.
Did
Laura.
you say it was Laura?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's my babe. Her name's Laura.
Yeah. Her last name
If it
starts with an
is,
M.
all right. Yep. That's my lady right there. All
That's
right.
awesome.
Nice. Bill, before we start the final four, I got one for you. Last one, one question, two parts. You know, you said you love CrossFit, you still do it every day and you train, but you're not on the competitive side of it anymore. So I'm curious, is there anything that when it was anytime, anywhere, any place, getting ready for competitions, was there a movement that you did then because of the competition that you no longer do now? And as you've gotten older, has there been a movement that you found that you didn't know back then that you enjoy and do now?
Um, the only reason I say that I'm not training for everything is because as a wrestler, you know that like if you're training, like I'm training to do this, which means that becomes number one on priority list and everything else kind of gets bumped down. And I got too many things on my plate to bump anything down right now, so I can't really do that. But um I uh no, I do everything that I did when I was training. Um that's a great thing about the methodology is that training doesn't differ by type. It just differs by intensity depending on where you are, elite athlete, aging grandparent, all it's another one of those old school CrossFit, little mantras there. Um, so I do the same stuff, maybe not as heavy as I did, not as I don't have the same emphasis as like, no, I need to get this rep. It's like, all right, it's fine. It'll be okay, or I can push really hard on this or that. Um, I think that now what I want to do is not be hurt. So I'm not going to do something where when I was younger, when I was no, no, I was younger, when I was competing, if I have to basketball my head off the ground 30 times for handstand push-ups, whether my neck hurts or not, I'm doing that. You know what I mean? Like, because it's a race, it's
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah.
Um, I know now that it's like, okay, if I do that, I better be a little careful because I don't have anything to show for it. At least I had a race before, but now it's like all I do is I need to walk around with a kink in my neck and I can't turn and I look all funny when I'm trying to drive and I'm doing this kind of stuff. But other than that, like there's nothing different. And if there is something that I need to change because, I am hurt or um then I know that I can modify the movements, change the movements. If my back is feeling a little tweaky and we're doing back squats, okay. I won't go heavy back squats. I'll either bring the weight down or I'll do single leg stuff. So the weight's lighter on my back, but I'm still getting, all kinds of work done with like my glutes and my legs and my hips. And um that's one of the great things about, have been doing this for so long and doing this and coaching it and competing in it and training in it and being hurt in it, not being hurt in it, that I have just like my list of options are so wide that if anyone comes to me and they're like, Bill, I can't do this, boom, here's three more. And I don't really even have to think about it that long, really. It ends up being them thinking like, okay, that's going to be kind of hard, or I really don't like doing that one. Or how about I just do, all right, well, how about you do it this way? And then it'll be fine. So, Yeah, to your point, like there's really nothing to change. I still do ring muscle ups. I still do bar muscle ups. I still do overhead squats. I still do snatches. Still do pistols. Maybe not as many as I wanted to do in the past, but I still do them. But yeah, dude, I don't want to not have fun. It's wrestling practice, but it's adult recess, and I don't want to come off the playground yet.
Right
So
on. Respect.
there you go.
Respect. And I like how you said I don't want to not have fun because that's kind of how we have fun. And I was watching a video that Heller did with Travis from the Bears, and he
Oh
was
yeah, the
he
handstand.
no he just put one out today, I think, and he was doing a workout with him at I
Back
guess
home, he
where
was in West Virginia,
yeah.
his near his house.
And one of the coaches there is like, oh well, this is kind of how he has fun. He doesn't go out and party. Kind of this is how he has fun, and I can get down with that all day.
I mean, I do like beer. I do like to go out and have a good time, but I have no problem with some coffee and then just, doing a fun workout. It's fun. It is fun. I mean, granted, before, like, there's a little bit of psychoness into that. Like, if you're gonna bury yourself and go to some dark places, that isn't always fun. Like, you get the endorphins afterwards, but you have to like being in it too. And I think, that's one of the pluses of being a wrestler is you could you hang out in those really ugly places, and it does you are used to it, and there is an element of fun, and you can be in a dark place where you're putting a hurt on someone, and it's fun. So it's the same type of thing here. It's like I'm putting a hurt on the bar. At least that's what I'm telling myself, instead of saying that the bar is putting a hurting on me. So
Comfortable with uncomfortable.
got to do it, man. You got to be.
Yeah, and to your point before about sometimes you get back on the bar because there's someone out there who's doing it where you're kind of competing with them. I don't have that, but what I have is just that when I put the kettlebell down, I get back to it and because I'm competing against myself. And there's also just that, like, yeah, you don't need to rest that long. Let's go, dude. And I
Totally.
don't know if it's just that inner wrestler, but those things like make me feel like I'm alive and I kind of need them. And I know people
Yes.
talk about, doing certain types of meditation or yoga or whatever, but I have to do like this stuff before I can even have the mind to sit down on the cushion or to do yoga because I'm like all over the place.
Totally. Totally. No, I agree. You gotta get the wiggles out for sure.
Yeah.
So,
So final four. The first question I have for you. I know you just showed us your coffee, so we know you're a coffee drinker. How do
bet.
you brew your coffee and how do you take it?
I do when I make it, I do a pour over. So I grind it up and I do the pour over. It's my little meditation as I'm watching the water go over it. Um, my go-to, like if I go to Starbucks or some other place like that, is I get their dark roast and then I have them steam some heavy cream and put heavy cream in it.
Let's
And that's my deal.
go.
That's all I ever get. Like in my house, I have heavy cream. If I go out, I have heavy cream, and if I go to a coffee shop and they're like, "Oh yeah, we only have half and half," then I go, "Thank you very much," and I walk out. I do
You could
not
My
pay
like
my
half
way
and
man,
half,
rich.
man. I do not like it. I'm like, you guys are great.
um,
I'll see you later.
I'm right there with you, man. That's one of the reasons why I put Starbucks a little bit above a lot of the hipster coffee shops because Starbucks is one of the few coffee shops that always has heavy cream. A lot of times the hipster spots, they don't have heavy cream.
Like, I just don't get that. How do you not have heavy cream? I don't understand. It's I don't get it.
Yeah,
I
I'm
would
there
think
with
you
you.
would have it. I mean, it's got to be in some other drinks. What's weird is I'll go to Starbucks and I'll say that, and I'm like, they'll be like, you always get the heavy cream. Does that taste good? I'm like, dude, you need to try the stuff that you have in your store. Like they ought to make you guys do that. If I'm here every day and I go to like there are four coffee shops, four Starbucks here in town that if I walk in, they're like, boo, they know that it's me coming in. Um, I'm like, if you know that I'm here every day and you haven't tried it once, just try it. So it's good. If you haven't tried it out there, try it. It's good.
Definitely, definitely. Bill, do you have any daily practices or rituals that you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of Bill Grundler?
Um, I am an extremely present person. Um, with kind of a stoic kind of backbone. With really really leaning into, look, if I can't do anything about it, then I'm not going to get worried about it. So I save my energies for the people, and the things that I think deserve to have my energies. So, when I'm dealing with whack job exes that are trying to keep me from seeing my daughter or whatever, like it's very easy for that to fire anybody up. And I will just take a nice deep breath and be like, there's nothing I can do about that right now. So I'll move on to the next thing. Um, I'm very present every day and very grateful every day. I mean, every day, usually when I go to bed, I'm just very thankful for all the things that I have in my world. My daughters, my girlfriend, my health, my gym, my family, all the things. Because that's important. I think people think about what they don't have too much instead of worrying about what they do have. And the nice thing is that when you are really thankful for the things that you do have, that opens up doors for other things that you might want later. So I'm big into that. Don't give your energy away, and be as present as possible for yourself and for the people that need that.
Man,
The
There you
sage
go.
wisdom of Bill Grundler.
that's right.
And look at that. It's not even a gray beard, like a long, stoic Gandalfy gray beard. Look at that.
Has
Bill,
anyone mistaken you for the lead singer of what's the band?
System of a Down.
Yes.
I've heard that. I've heard
Okay.
that. I love whenever I get on the show with Sevon, they say that I'm the good-looking, fit version of Sevon, which is pretty
Right.
funny. So,
Bill, what are you listening to right now? Music, podcasts, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
um, I actually got probably, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, that Headway app that does like the Cliff Note versions of books. I do like to read, and I like to learn about stuff, but I just don't have a lot of time to do it. So that's actually been kind of fun. But honestly, right now, I mean, I listen to music every day in the gym, so I'm musiced out. I mean, I listen all the time to music. A lot of the other time, it's trying to catch up on all of my friends that have all their podcasts. So, there's our show, the Get With the Programming. There's the Coffee Pods and Wads. There's all the Sevon shows, in which are 9,000 gazillion of all different versions of whatever. Um, there's the Barbell Spin. Um, there is the Shut Up and Scribble, with Taylor Self and J.R. Howe. I mean, like all of the guys that we do all of our stuff with, and Hiller. I mean, like there's so everyone's putting out so much stuff. Well, now you guys, now I'm watching your guys' stuff. I'm still trying to figure out what was it? Trans
Reality
surfing.
transurfing.
I was
It's out
like,
there.
We go
I'm
deep
gonna I'm gonna have
sometimes.
to take a little bit of time on this one. I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
Um, I'll get back to you guys on that one. But like, there's a lot of that stuff. So all of my sphere is doing like podcasts and live shows and stuff like that. So just trying to catch up on what they're doing, and the CrossFit space stuff. So that takes up a lot of my time. So between everything, that I would say podcasting most. That's why the Headway, read a book in 10 minutes kind of thing is nice. It's the cheater version for sure. But
What's your go-to workout music?
right now, it's 80s new wave. But I've done like funk, 70s disco. I've done punk, like old punk. I listen to some of the hip hop stuff, but I listen to that most time during the day, so I don't listen to it as much. Um, the Cult, like that kind of stuff, some of that kind of good stuff. Stuff that like I wouldn't necessarily play for the group. See, when you're old like myself, you have an eclectic mix, and I can listen to anything other than country music. So I will listen to
Uh,
anything other than country music. I can't do it.
we gotta get you down to
Um,
South Carolina. We'll get you into some country.
I mean, if we're at the lake and I got a beer, then I'll listen to some old country. This kills my girlfriend because she's a 90s country girl. But I can't listen to that, but I can literally listen to anything else. Like when it's Christmas time, December 1st to December 25th, it's only Christmas music that I listen to. Only. And that's in the gym too. People get pissed, but I'll be in here with Frank Sinatra doing Silent Night,
Yes.
and I'm, slamming barbells, clean and jerking 225, you know.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
I
Dig
love
it.
it. I love it. Bill, last one we got for you. Do you have a guilty pleasure or guilty pleasures? It could be anything. Maybe it's a particular sweet treat. I know you mentioned you like your beer. Maybe you're an IPA guy. You talked about music. Maybe you're a Swiftie at heart.
Oh God, how dare you say that? No, I'm not a Swiftie at heart.
Or you get people with that one every time.
Here's what my mine would be. The the first sip of a beer when it's hot, either from working out or surfing or being out in the sun. The first one, and I like Mexican beer. I like Modelo and Pacifico and stuff like that. The first one, like I'll almost bury the beer in one sip because it just tastes so good. Like I love that. I will have that one sip and then I cannot drink anymore. I can literally be done right after that. And just be like, damn, that was good. But probably my guilt, my one that I do a lot is peanut butter pretzels
Mm-hmm.
and then I put peanut butter on them.
Oh,
Right out of the deal. It's knife, peanut butter right on the thing, and I'll mow those things down. I like that.
okay.
Peanut butter and
Fair
pretzels,
enough.
man. It's good.
You ever get the nuggets that have the pretzel peanut butter filling?
Yeah, dude, and then I
Yeah.
put peanut butter on the
Oh,
outside.
you
That's what I'm
put the
talking
peanut butter
about.
on the outside.
Heck
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
man. Yeah, I don't mess around with
Okay.
that stuff.
Okay.
You have a
Okay.
branded choice that you prefer?
Not really. I like the Trader Joe's ones. They're usually like they gotta have some good salt on them. In Trader Joe's you can get some good ones on that. So yeah.
Bill, you are the man, sir,
Yeah.
sir. I don't know
Uh,
if it's because CrossFit and wrestling, it's just the mix of the Airey bros. You brought it together. Really enjoyed this. Really enjoyed the conversations. And like I said before, the sage wisdom. Thank you for your time.
Dude, my pleasure. Anytime. I mean, CrossFitters and wrestlers too. So anytime you guys want me to hop back on, let me know. I think it'd be fun.
Absolutely. Bill, one last time, where can the folks find you?
Instagram is at Bill Grundler. You can find my gym is at CrossFit Inferno. You can check out my podcast with Chase Ingram. It's Get With the Programming. You can find that on Instagram and at Get With the Programming. And then also check out our lifestyle brand. We brought this back, me and Chase, with the help of uh Ken from Sherpa Works, the OG/cult. It's the OG culture. So it's we got Pukey on there.
Let's go.
So it's all about being OG. So yeah, check us out on those things.
Love it. Bill, like Jimmy said, you are the man. We really appreciate your time, appreciate spending another day with us. And yeah, I look forward to the next time we get to chat.
Do my pleasure, guys.